Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at goracing.ie.
And you're very welcome along to Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball. Lots to look forward to. Of course, it's the Dublin Racing Festival weekend at Leopardstown, isn't it? And joined, as always, by our racing guru, Johnny Ward. Johnny, how are you?
Very good, John.
And I think, 1.8 million in prize money, 15 races, 8 Grade 1s. I'm kind of wondering to myself, why weren't they doing this for years? It looks like a great idea, this Dublin Racing Festival.
Yeah, why don't more British trainers come over? There's so much prize money there. There are a lot of horses that aren't running this weekend, of very high-profile horses. Not a lot of horses, but some high-profile horses. So there's a lot of prize money up for grabs, but it's going to be a brilliant day's race. And I think this is going to become our closest thing to the Cheltenham Festival, because it's just so much quality. And whereas Cheltenham has expanded to 4 days, this is 2 days of 8 Grade 1s, proper graded races and proper handicaps.
Now, on the line, we have a legend of the sport. We have a winner of training champion hurdle, Gold Cup, champion chase, Irish Grand National, Irish 1000 Guineas, based in Moon, County Kildare. Very delighted to say hello to Jessica Harrington. Jessica, how are you?
Very well, thank you, and good morning to you.
Thanks for joining us on Friday Night Racing. Let's talk about the Dublin Racing Festival, first of all, Jessica. I think it's only when you see the quality of racing on offer that you wonder why this didn't happen for many years, and it's only happened in the last couple of years. It's a great programme. It's
a brilliant programme. It was a great initiative, because basically it came out of there used to be 2 good Leopardstown meetings, one in the middle of January and one of the second week in February. And they combined the 2 together last year. And now we've all got our heads around it, which always takes us a bit of time, because we're used to races being in the same place at the same time. I think it's a brilliant idea. The quality they've got this weekend of in the races, the numbers in the fields, you've got big fields, you've got very competitive racing. And the way it worked out last year was the horses that ran well there went on to either run very well in Cheltenham or win in Cheltenham.
One of those, Jessica, was Super Sunday, won the champion hurdle, the BHP champion hurdle last year, went on to run, I think, second in the Stairs hurdle. What about his chances tomorrow? I see that 6 declared, Melon, Petit Mouchoir, Tombstone, Farclas, Apples Jade, and your horse, Super Sunday. Is he going to go one better than he did at Christmas?
Well, I'm hoping so. He's a horse that takes a couple of runs, always two runs to get going each year. He's improved with each run. Aideen, who writes him out every day, she says he's improved again since Christmas. Look, he's never beaten Apples Jade, but he's been running against her over 2.5 and 3 miles. I'm hoping that he'll have enough speed to beat her over 2 miles. For some extraordinary reason, he seems to have got quicker as he's got older, and I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, I'm wondering that, Jesse, because I thought it was very interesting. You went back to the 2 mile route this season, but there's obviously a reason for that.
He just seems to be in good form, and looking at it, I was thinking, Penn Hill beat him last year. He's going to be turning up at Cheltenham, and there's a few other horses, and we just thought, well, he's in both races at Cheltenham, so we'll see how tomorrow goes. But I'm happy with him, and listen, he's been a great servant to me. He really has.
He ran an extraordinary race at Christmas, John, as well. He was running on after getting maybe a little bit outpaced. So you hope for a proper gallop tomorrow, Jessica?
It should be a proper gallop. You've got Apples Jade, who makes the running anyway, and I'm hoping she's coming back to 2 miles from having won over 3 miles and 2.5 miles. So I would hope that she'll make the running and make it a good gallop.
Jessica, Sizing John has not been able to get a run. Of course, won the Gold Cup in 2017 on St Patrick's Day. How is he, and is he going to turn up at Cheltenham?
Well, we're going to do our best. We've just been frustrated all winter. I just didn't want to run him on good ground, and the ground, believe it or not, has been good all the whole winter in Ireland, and it's just been very frustrating for him. He's a very big horse, and knew that we were bringing him back from injury last year, and it's just been frustrating. But look, if we could get to Cheltenham, it would be a bonus. But we've still got Fairyhouse and Punchestown to look forward to him. But I will get him back on the racecourse as soon as possible. But I'm not ruling out Cheltenham.
What do you remember, Jessica, vividly about that day in 2017 at Cheltenham?
Oh, geez, it was a magic day because it was a great thing that day. We went in underneath the radar. Even though he'd won the Irish Gold Cup at Leopardstown. he went in under the radar because everyone said, oh, I don't think he'll stay. That's only 3 miles. He's got to go 3.5 or 3 at Cheltenham. And anyway, as history has it recorded, he did stay and he did win it. And it was just like walking on air. It was the most amazing feeling.
He's actually a slightly forgotten horse in a sense because he's been off for over a year and people forget how good he was that season because he went into that race.
3 Gold Cups.
3 Gold Cups. I think he won 5 or 6 in a row and he went over various trips obviously and he wasn't right then at Christmas and it must be very unfortunate, Jessica, because he was probably only really coming into his prime when he got actually injured.
Yeah, he was. He was at 8. He did all his, like when he won his 3 Gold Cups, he was 7, and he won 4 in a row that spring, and then he came back and everything looked really good. In the autumn of that, he came back and won the John Burke, and everything looked absolutely rosy, and we were quite happy with him, and then he goes and hurts himself at Christmas, and we can't get him right again.
If there was a horse, Jessica, that really, I think, put you on the map big style, it was Moscow Flyer. 2 champion chases, that amazing race in the Tingle Creek in 04 when he beat Azurtiap and Well Chief. Why was Moscow so good? I think a lot of Irish people took him to their hearts because we weren't as maybe successful as we are now at Cheltenham.
Yeah, I think so. And he was, when he turned up, he won or he fell, and we're never quite sure which he was doing. If you actually string all his races together, I think he won something like 16 chases in a row, or something amazing like that. But if you took out the times he fell, he was a little bit prone to do that. But he was an amazing horse, and I probably didn't appreciate him when I had him because every time you entered him, he turned up and he won. And it was sort of just like you press the button and off we went.
And Jessica, of course, you jet ski as well. Such a versatile horse. Won a champion hurdle, won an Aintree hurdle, won a stairs hurdle at Punchestown. But you've been in the game a long time, Jessica, and I was kind of doing some research, and it's very interesting that your father, Brigadier Brian Fowler, won a silver medal at the 1936 Olympics in Hitler's Berlin. Did he ever talk to you about what that was like, Jessica?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he said he marched in the opening parade, and he won it for playing polo, which actually has never been in the Olympics since. But and he said it was fascinating, and he saw Hitler up close and personal because he opened those games. That's
an incredible. I never knew that. That's absolutely incredible, yeah. And a strong Irish link to the most controversial Olympics maybe of all time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Jessica, you went to Los Angeles in 1984 and a bit of a tragic situation. I think your horse went lame, but you were eventing for Ireland at the time. I was, yeah, and my horse went lame when he got out there, but those things happen. We kind of get used to them. People say, it's very good for your character. It's character building. I tell you what, I can give up character building sometimes, I feel. Were you at the opening ceremony? Did you get that far? Yeah, I did. I walked in the opening ceremony, and I must say it is the most amazing feeling to go into a stadium at the Olympics with all those people and all those other incredible athletes. That's the amazing thing, and you're all walking around there together. It's just it's a sort of raises the hairs on the back of your neck feeling. How did your journey, Jessica, in eventing help you when it came to training horses when yourself and Johnny, your late husband, kind of got the show on the road in the early 90s? I suppose, yes, it did help because I knew a bit about getting horses fit and what horses should look like. But I also was greatly helped because all the time, Johnny was a bloodstock agent, and I used to spend quite a lot of time going with him. And he always stayed at various trainers' yards, and I used to see what they did with their horses. The likes of originally David Morley, Peter Warwin, John Dunlop. And so, I was watching what they were doing, and then that definitely helped me. And when I did start, I asked as many questions of everyone I possibly could, because the more information you have, the better. And you never stop. And the other thing you have to remember, you never ever stop learning. You've got, of course, Kate, who rides, a very good jockey, and Emma working with you now in Commonstown. What kind of advice would you give, Jessica, to people looking to run a successful business? That you've run a very successful business. You've had ups and downs along the way. You've reached the top of your profession. What have you learned along the way that good advice that you give to people? The hardest thing is to keep at the top, and you have to, you have to work hard. There's no substitute for hard work. You need to be lucky.
be the right place, the right time, and just keep doing. Don't get swung by fads. Keep doing. If you think what you're doing is right, keep doing, but always keep listening to what other people have to say.
And your progression to train so many flat horses in recent years, did you expect that to happen, or did it come almost out of the blue?
Well, we always had a couple of flat horses, and it kind of then, when the recession hit, it was harder to get people to have national hunt horses because they took such a long time. So we actually started getting more flat horses, and it's just progressed from there, really. And I enjoy it. I enjoy doing the two of them. I love my jumping because that's my born and bred roots. But I do enjoy the flat. I think it's a challenge. It's whereas jumping is really England, Ireland, France. Is the sort of they're the three main national hunt countries. In the flat, you've got a worldwide market and a worldwide racing scene. So it's more worldly, it's more exciting, and I just find it is exciting, and it's a much quicker turnover because you buy yearlings, and then within a year some of them are gone because they haven't stepped up to the mark. And whereas if you buy a 3-year-old in the Derby sale here, unbroken 3-year-old, 2 year, it mightn't run for 2 years till it's 5. It's a game of patience. Where the flat, you do have to be patient, but the results you kind of know where you are quicker.
Where in terms of the flat, then, what is your main motivation in a worldwide sense? Would it be like Breeders' Cup, Melbourne Cup, or what are you thinking?
Oh yeah, I'd like to. Of course, I'd love to win a Breeders' Cup. I'd love to go down and take a horse down to win the Melbourne Cup. I have loads of ambitions still, and I've got to get them. Both national hunt and flat. No
slowing down, Jessica. And Alpha Centauri, what a great story. Won the Irish 1,000 guineas last year. Then Group 1 races at Ascot, Newmarket, and Deauville. Did you feel you had something special on your hands when you first got her?
Oh, I did, because when she arrived in, she was a very big lady. As a yearling, she weighed well over 500 kilos, which is enormous. A for a yearling and B for a yearling filly. And she just had that way of doing things. Everything came to her very easy. And I did think she was very good, which she showed early on in her 2-year-old year. And then probably she just got a bit weak during the back end, and she came back to herself as a 3-year-old, which was fantastic.
And you're running anything else at the Dublin Racing Festival apart from Super Sunday this weekend?
Oh yeah, we have. We start off on Saturday. We have Magnum runs in the novice hurdle, the 2 mile 6. He'll improve hopefully a little bit for going two furlongs longer. He's a lovely horse. It's going to be a chaser in the end. We got Super Sunday. Then we have a couple, Jet Ski and Jet Airs in the Ladbroke hurdle. Jet Airs is quite a nice novice, of reasonable weight in that, so I think he's got a bit of a chance. I have a couple in the Paddy Mullins mares handicap hurdle. I have Ali Trix, who actually won it last year. It's going to be very different conditions this year. And I have a filly down the bottom of the handicap called Ravetta. She's running off a lightweight. And then I got trumped in the juvenile hurdle, the 4-year-old hurdle. He have an each way chance, I think. If he runs up to his best, he's improving each one he has. I then have Jet Airs in the Grade 1 novice chase. He again, stepping back up to 2 mile 5, will help him, and he also likes going left-handed, which will make a difference. And I run Whisper in the Breeze in the 2 mile 5 handicap chase. He ran very well over 3 miles in Punchestown last time he ran. So I'm hoping he'll run a nice race. I'm not saying he'll win, but he could be placed.
Could we see Sizen John at Goran maybe if the ground was okay?
We could easily, yeah. That's sort of it's on the agenda. So, but I'm not promising anything to anybody.
Jessica, you beautifully marked our card for the Dublin Racing Festival. Fascinating stories as always. Great to speak to you. Best luck of the weekend, and we look forward to seeing you at Cheltenham.
Thank you very much indeed. And just tell everyone to get out and go racing over the weekend, because it's fantastic racing, and it looks like the weather will be dry, maybe a bit cold, but it'll be unbelievable racing.
Absolutely.
Jessica, thanks.
Okay.
Thank
you very much.
Bye-bye.
She ended on a good note there, because it's There are obviously a lot of counter attractions this weekend with the rugby. Dublin are playing Galway that evening, which you can go along to. You can make it a day of sport by going to. You almost certainly don't have a ticket for the rugby, so you want to go to
4 couches across Ireland. They're going to be just burst.
Yeah,
and there's going to be potato chips and
even the Super Bowl on Sunday night. Then after it all. There's so much going on. Like, from the Gaelic Games perspective, the Gaelic Games narrative is actually lost, but there's some really good games, and particularly in hurling this weekend. And then you have the Super Bowl. You obviously have the rugbies, 3 big rugby games. There's football going on across the channel, and then you have like the biggest 2 days in Irish racing. Like,
until Punchestown.
Yeah, and this is bigger than Punchestown, really, because Punchestown has a lot of kind of run-of-the-mill races. This is proper quality over 2 days. Like, this is probably the biggest 2 days in Irish racing beyond the Champion Stakes weekend, I would argue. Certainly put together, anyway. It was an idea, I think, that made a lot of sense, because they found a place in the calendar that splits Leopardstown at Christmas and Cheltenham. And with the prize money in Britain and with, the exchange rate, there should be far more horses running from Britain, to my mind, in Ireland over the 2 days. Even though we have decent field sizes.
Now, let's look ahead to this weekend's Dublin Racing Festival. Just to let you know, there's a little bit of a worry about frost, but I don't think it's going to be that much of an issue. So the course executive have changed the programme. So tomorrow's programme starts at 12:50. The chases are the last 3 races on the card. I've got the decks in here, and the BHP Insurance Irish Champion Hurdle. That is now tomorrow, but it's run at a different time to originally advertised. It's the second race on the card now. 125, Johnny. 6 horses: Melon, Petit Mouchoir, Super Sunday, Tombstone, Far Class, and Apple's Jade. I think you're a Melon fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I am a Melon fan. And I don't think Super Sunday is out of this at all, actually. I think over this trip, it's fascinating with horses. Like, what is he now? 8 years of age, maybe? And Jessica reckons he's getting faster. He's a Galileo horse that definitely stays 3 miles. But as you mentioned, he won this race last year, when I suppose the notable thing was, there were a couple of flops in the race. But if Apple Jade does jump a little bit to her right, which she can do, I think she's probably better going right-handed, and I think Mellon will come on a lot from his run of Christmas. Obviously, we had Patrick Mullins on maybe 2 weeks ago, and we had him on the roadshow since, and he felt that he did look quite burly in the parade ring, and I think he'll be much closer to fit here. And don't forget, he probably should have won the Champion Hurdle at Cheltenham last year. Foyne hadn't sort of jumped across him a bit was it the second or third last. So that form would entitle him to a huge chance, and there's no real talk of Applejack going to Cheltenham for the Champion Hurdle. They don't think she's good enough to win that, so she's probably more vulnerable than people think here.
Now, the Ladbrokes Dublin Chase, that's also on tomorrow at 3:10. We have also got 6 runners in this one: Castlegrace Paddy, Min, Ordinary World, San Calvado, Simply Ned, who won a Christmas course beat, Footpad, and Special Tiara. This looks like a Min job.
It does look like a Min job. Obviously, Footpad is definitely one of the more I suppose the bigger names that isn't turning up, and it's disappointing he's not here, but there's no smoke without fire, and the betting wasn't positive about him at all for the last 2 weeks. I think he may have suffered something at Leopardstown. He shouldn't have been beaten at Leopardstown on Christmas, being honest. He jumped the last well. I couldn't see how he would have been beaten, and maybe he wasn't fully right, but it's good to see 2 English raiders coming over. Simply Ned's record at Leopardstown is quite incredible, and it's hard not to see him run a big race again. But I think Min should have the class. On ratings, I think he's about 8 or 10 pounds clear. He was quite fresh the last day, but he still won, and dropping back to 2 miles can only really suit him. He'll take a hell of a lot of beating, John, I think.
Anything else you like tomorrow in tomorrow's races?
Yeah, it's a tough enough card, actually. Apart from that, there are there are a lot of handicaps, I suppose, over the 2 days. That I'll just get the betting up here, actually, for some of the smaller races.
I noticed that Jessica Harrington gave a word for Jatez there in that Ladbrokes Hurdle. He's got 10 stone 12.
Yeah, would definitely have a chance, and he's a horse that's obviously that race is deeply competitive. But I do quite like Commander of Fleet in the 1250, which is the first race. This race was notable for Battle Over Doyen not running in it. And
Sam Crow, I think, won this race last year, yes.
Sam Crow actually won the 2 mile race. This race was won by Tower Bridge, I think.
Was it? Yeah.
Now, the debate was what race Sam Crow would run in,
right, yes.
and it probably didn't make much of a difference. But Battle Over Doyen, I'm speculating he's not running because the ground is still fairly quick, and you could see at Naas, he's very exciting. I think Jamie Lynch of Time Form described him as Sam Crow without the hype. In that he's a similar profile, but his win at Naas, to me, he looked like he was feeling the ground a bit. He looked certainly a bit all at sea, so I think they're just taking a precautionary note with him. And Commander Fleet is a very, very interesting alternative. He was due to run at Naas in the race of Battle Over Dye and won, but they pulled him out. And he ran in the Royal Bond when he was last of 4, but of course he was behind Aramon, and that was his first pitch straight out of a maiden company into a race over an inadequate trip. So I can see him running a big race in that. I think he's very interesting. And obviously then we have the bumper as well. That's the 2:35 race.
Neptune is in that, who won a Christmas Met Leinster, was a bit disappointing.
He was a bit disappointing. Envoy Allen is, The 3 most exciting bumper horses in Ireland are probably all trained by Gordon Elliott, and they've 3 different. One of them is owned by JP McManus, and 2 of them are owned by Cheveley Park. And Malone Road, by all accounts, won't be ready for Cheltenham. But Envoy Allen, who doesn't really look at Cheltenham bumper horse, but if he is to win this ground will probably be quicker than what they meet at Cheltenham. So they haven't watered, and it's going to be good, I think, in the chase track. And there hasn't been that much rain, which is a little bit controversial, but they've decided not to water. And Envoy Allen, if he does win this, he probably will be favoured for Cheltenham, but he's a very, very good horse, real chaser in the making.
I see Ken Boy's not declared for the Gold Cup. That's the Unibet Irish Gold Cup on Sunday. So the time of that one is 3:35 on Sunday, when the couch is being taken away and you're getting a new one in. We have got 10 runners in this one. Album Photo of Willie Mullins, Annabelle Fly, Balco de Flo, Bell's Hill, Ed Wolfe, who I think won this last year, Monolith, a good novice from last season, Noble Endeavour, Outlander, Road to Respect, who's won a 3-mile chase over Leopardstown before, and The Storyteller, who I think won the big race at Punchestown last year. What do you like, Johnny?
What do you like, actually?
Ken Boy, he's not running.
Yeah.
Look, I think Road to Respect, the ground will suit him. He's done it over the track. Monolith was a horse I really liked last season, but the thing about Monolith is that he probably prefers shorter, and I think that he always tends to find one too good. Bell's Hill might prefer to go right-handed. Balco de Flo, to me, is a bit of an enigma, because I love the way he won the Ryanair last year, but he hasn't really picked up on that form yet. I think Balco de Flo is a horse that could turn up. He could be a contender for the Gold Cup at Cheltenham. But Davy Russell's riding The Storyteller, and Rachel Blackmore's riding Balco de Flo. Album Photo is a horse that is definitely talented but does make mistakes and can fall. And Annabelle Fly maybe is just short of this graded class. So I think Road to Respect is thereabouts. But I also do believe that last season's novices the form has worked out. Elegant Escape winning the Welsh National, Ken Boy winning there recently, Clam des Obeaux presenting Percy. So that actually would bring Monolith for me back into the equation as possibly an each way bet.
Yeah, a lot of people say he doesn't stay, and maybe he doesn't. It's a strange one, because his best run yet was probably the last day over 3 miles when he was second, but at the same time he wouldn't be Road to Respect if that race had actually gone as you might expect it, and there wasn't much of a gallop either. That was the big thing about Ken Boy, who you like, who doesn't run and obviously is going to be fresher at Cheltenham now, but I still like Road to Respect. He won the Savage Chase last year. If you watched the race back, the 2018 renewal, he had a horrible trip, and I think he's a slightly unheralded horse. He will absolutely love the ground. The ground is going to be pretty quick on the chase track. You remember his performance at Cheltenham when he won as a novice. He was extraordinarily impressive.
Won by half the track.
Yeah, people still think he doesn't really stay the Gold Cup trip, and that is a slight nagging doubt in my mind, but he will stay 3 mile run.
Yeah, on good ground. It's a bit like the King George of old. You know, you'd have that Kempton good ground, and you compare it to like Cheltenham. Cheltenham, the Gold Cup for me has always been a little bit more of a stamina race than a speed race.
Do you remember it last year? You remember the ground, like being there on the Monday last year, the ground was heavy at Cheltenham.
The worst ground since 1982.
Yeah, that just doesn't happen. And
no, it doesn't.
He had to come off the pace to get into the Gold Cup, which nobody really did. There was 2 horses up there who were there throughout, and they finished punch drunk. I remember Patrick Mullins saying that he was travelling, I think he rode Jack Adam, and he said there's nothing coming from behind here. So, and Road to Respect still finished 4th, and he's a year older now. I think he's a great chance. The bookmakers haven't really missed him. The likes of Annabelle Fly, on his day at a price, he could definitely rock up into a place there under Barry Geraghty, who of course reached a milestone in terms of winners quite recently as well. And there are plenty of horses. Outlander obviously loves the track. You mentioned Balcon Flow. I think Bellshill is probably better going the other way. The Storyteller didn't run badly at all at Christmas. You know, he would have a small each way chance. But I still think he'll be very hard to beat. Road to Respect, and it would be a nice winner for Connections, Noel Mead and Sean Flanagan.
Okay, anything else you like on Sunday, Johnny?
Yeah, we should mention Delta Work runs in the Flowgas Novice Chase.
I'm really excited about Labago, and to be fair to her, great tricks coming over with Labago Watt. The jumping that she showed in that Feltham, as I call it, or whatever it's called nowadays, at Kempton, that 3 mile novice. I loved her jumping. Yeah.
It'll give us an indication of where Santini fits into the picture, because a lot of people still can't really see him beaten in the RSA Chase. Ballyword, who won last Sunday, for some reason or other is not entered in the RSA, yet can be added to the race. I think he's more than entitled to run it. I think they'll probably take the easier option and run him in the National Hunt Chase at Cheltenham. But that's a classy race at Leopardstown. But I do like one in the bumper, Jeremy's Flame for Gavin Cromwell. She won at Naas last time. Remember, Jeremy was the sire of Jer's Girl, and Jeremy's a bit like Fame and Glory in that he's had an awful lot of really good horses since he passed away as a stallion. And she went out in front at Naas, and I wasn't 100% sure watching the race that she would get home, but she really, really did get home, and she's an exciting mare. I think she'll go very well for each way players. That's in the 440. And
for the Pearl Jam fans, Johnny.
For the Jeremy's, of course, Jeremy was one of my favourite tunes by Pearl Jam. Yeah, I think two bachelors own her from up the north. I'm not sure they're Pearl Jam fans, but I can find that out to you. But I tell you what, John, by 4:40 on Sunday, it'll feel like we've been hit by a bus, because there'll be a lot of fun had at that stage between all the racing and all the sport.
Yeah, I remember there was in 2008, I was at Cheltenham, and I'm going for the 18th year, very luckily, and I still pray every day that I'm privileged to be able to do so. But there was high winds at the course, and there was like tents being nearly blown away by marquees, so they had to cancel the day. And then they ran, I think, 10 races on the Thursday and the Friday. And it was just like a whirlwind. It was absolutely fantastic. It was like bang, bang, every punches every half an hour. I loved it, and this is a bit like that.
I was there that day. The day it was called off was so strange, because it was kind of like you went into the course, go into the Centaur Arena or whatever it's called, and it was just so strange. But I'm interested in your views on the rugby as well. Will we? We're 3-1 on, which I think is a little bit worrying.
It's a bit short. I wouldn't be putting on my huge money that I don't have at that price. No, I think it'll be tight enough. It's always as well difficult to say at the start of a campaign how it's going to go. And it is a World Cup year, and I think people need to remember that this is a World Cup year. Whatever happens in Six Nations, I know it's a tournament in itself. And also, I think the nature of sport and the nature of life is that not things go in cycles. England had their cycle in 2003. South Africa had a cycle under Nick Mallet. New Zealand have had great cycles, but Ireland's cycle will eventually
come to its end as well.
Come to its end, or you'll have a couple of setbacks and then they'll go again. So it's difficult to repeat the year that they had last year, just because I just think humans are not constructed that way, and teams are not constructed that way to continue to perform. So we could end up slipping up somewhere. It could be in Cardiff, could be Murrayfield. I think we'll win tomorrow, but I'm not, I wouldn't be taking a 3-1 on. Viewmore Van, I thought, ran well at Christmas. I think it was in the Paddy Power, and he's running tomorrow on Sunday at the 4:10.
Yeah, he's a horse obviously that handled Leopardstown quite well as well from his performance there last year, and his stable runners couldn't be in better form. He's obviously a lot of runners at Dundalk tonight as well, Joseph O'Brien, and he's another interesting horse. I mean, it's just quality from start to finish. You look even at the juvenile hurdle on Sunday. Chief Justice and Kerr Sublime, obviously they clashed on Hatton's Grey State Fairyhouse. Kerr Sublime fell. I think the notable thing is that Davy Russell takes over from Brian Cooper, which is a little bit disappointing for Brian Cooper, who's ridden that horse in all three of his starts, one of which he was beaten Shorthead, one of which he won, and the other he fell at the last at Leopardstown at Christmas. But we have Sir Eric in that race and taking on Tiger Tap Tap, and remember the clash they had. I think Sir Eric, I'm not sure if he's still favoured for the Triumph Hurdle at Cheltenham, but this is a race that will definitely give us some indication of the Irish juveniles. We saw a horse of Joseph O'Brien's that came from France. His name escapes me, winning at Cheltenham last weekend. His name isn't actually, his name escapes me.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
he took on some of their better juveniles and really bolted up. And I highly doubt that he's, I wouldn't have thought he was as good as Sir Eric. So if we get some commanding performance from a winner here, I think the Irish juveniles look particularly strong this year.
Yeah, the juveniles is a difficult thing to work out. As somebody, I think, said, go into the darkened room when the Triumph Hurdle is on at Cheltenham. But yeah, I would agree with you that I think we have good ones. So we had a great night at the Sugar Club last Thursday. Davy Russell, Rachel Blackmore, Johnny Ward himself, Patrick Mullins previewing the Dublin Racing Festival taking place at Leopardstown this weekend. The Tote.com kindly gave everyone a €100 charity bet for the Irish Injured Jockeys Fund. Let's go through those bets now, see if we can add to our 1,485 pot at the Dublin Racing Festival tomorrow and Sunday. So Kevin Kilban, who likes horses, has gone for Paloma Blue in the Arkle Novice Chase. That's the Grade 1 tomorrow, €100 win on Paloma Blue. I like this horse, Paloma Blue. Rachel Blackmore has gone for Petit Mouchoir in the BHP Insurance Irish Champion Hurdle, 50 each way on Petit Mouchoir for Rachel. Johnny, you went for Min?
I did, and to be fair, at the time I said...
You got the odds as well?
Yeah, I said I'm just getting the vibe the footpad doesn't run. So that was actually a very informative night. Cheltenham preview nights can be, a load of rubbish at times, and that you don't really get any information. You have a few pints, a bit of crack. But that night was actually very informative from the perspective of Rachel, Patrick, and Davy in particular. They just gave lots of information that was very useful if you're a punter, and it was a lovely setting. And you got the vibe that night that Min was well worth the best from just generally what people were saying.
And on Sunday, Patrick Mullins, I thought this was interesting now. Tiger Tap Tap It. That's the juvenile race Johnny's just been talking about.
Because that horse will probably be an each way price, John, because it was beaten by Sir Eric the last day, but he thought it would come on, it needed to run a little bit.
And it wasn't a 50 each way bet, it was a €100 win bet. And I think that says a lot, Tiger Tap Tap. I think Jessica's horses are worth going back and listening to, and we can tweak them out. That she went through the card, and Giatez was one I definitely noticed. Whisper in the Breeze got a very low weight in the second last race on Sunday. So that's really it for this week's edition of Friday Night Racing on Off the Ball. Johnny, I wish you luck in your betting and sporting escapades this weekend.
Yeah, I probably won't go mad on bets at Leopardstown, but if you haven't tried racing, go along to Leopardstown tomorrow, because if you don't like it tomorrow, you can basically give up on racing, because you have brilliant National Hunt racing at a beautiful racetrack, heavenly winter weather, with a great atmosphere. You'll see these horses in the flesh, the most beautiful jump spread horses. You'll see the best riders in the world, the best trainers in the world be represented there, some of the best jumpers in the world be represented there, at Foxrock in Dublin, a beautiful place to watch racing. And if you don't like it, then you can basically say, well, I gave it a go and I give up now, but I'd be pretty surprised if you don't.
Yeah, I've got a couple of English friends coming over to the Rugby tomorrow, and then they're going to go to Leopardstown on Sunday. If you're in Dublin, go to Leopardstown for the Dublin Racing Festival. 2 days of amazing racing. You've got no excuses if you're living near the Foxrock area. Get down there, have a bit of crack, enjoy yourself, have a bet, don't go mad. And remember, the Friday Night Racing is brought to you with GoRacing.ie. Next week, we're going to look ahead to meetings at Dundalk, Naas and Punchestown. Until then, bye-bye.
Friday Night Racing
on Off the Ball.
And they're off.
Brought to you by Go Racing. Plan your day at the races at GoRacing.ie.